business. We'll start with presentations.
So we're going to welcome our newest member. Chris Hawsey here is our newest member, so welcome, board. Chris, any comments or anything?
No, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Cool, thank you. All right, it's the first item, Dale.
That's the first item. We'd also like to, well, the board and chief would like to thank JJ for his, I know he's here, thank you, JJ for his many years, and chief.
I'd like to wake up, welcome up, JJ. I think he was been on the board since 2013, and he just stepped down after that tenure with us, and he was the board chair. So I want to say congratulations and thank you for your service to the Ccpd. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, and you guys are going to do great. I was on the board since its inception, and I am very grateful to work with just some fine quality people. I was probably one of the least qualified people on the board from a law enforcement perspective, but I'm grateful for the time served, and I'm very grateful. So, thank you, and I just wanted to say thanks. You guys are going to do great.
Great, thank you.
Okay, now we'll consider appointments for JJ's chair and vice chair for the CCPD.
I would like to say something about that. I would like to make a motion to nominate you as from our vice chair to chair, Leo Daniels. And I would like to also nominate Heath Williams as vice chair for our group. So,
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. All right, so we have a motion and we second. All in favor?
Aye.
right.
Any opposed? Okay. Oh, sorry.
Congratulations.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next item.
Okay, next item, we're going to take, we're going to review the minutes and take any action on the minutes from the last meeting. Has everyone had a chance to get the minutes?
Yes.
Do we have any additions to the minutes? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes as posted.
I second.
We've had a motion and a second, the minutes will be accepted.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move into item 6, discussion of the appropriate action to the budget item regarding the flock camera system. We have Chief here, Arata, and a representative from flock here.
Thank you, board. I appreciate it. And congratulations, Mr. Daniels and Mr. Williams, for your new positions. This is my fourth public presentation on this topic, so I'm going to take a minute and go through this presentation, and I have some slides that I'm going to show you. So back in July, we started this moving forward with looking at the flock system and presenting it in our budget. The flock camera system is a fixed base camera system that'll be positioned at each entrance to the town and will take images of cars that are coming in town. It captures the rear license plate and the rear image of a car, and it sits in a database for 30 days. After 30 days, the data goes away. And the way it helps us as a police department is it gives us a tool that if something happens in town, we can go back into the system within that 30-day window and look for whatever the vehicle description is that we're looking for. If we had a plate that we were looking for, we could go in and search and see when that car came into town. The system also has an active system where it looks for stolen cars. The national database that the flock locks into allows us to click on alert. So if a stolen car was to come into town, the system will alert the officers via the duty police phone that they carry that a stolen car with the license plate number and the description has come into town at this particular location. It also works off of the national alert system for Amber Alerts, which are children missing, gray alerts, silver alerts, which are senior citizens, camo alerts or military personnel that are in danger, blue alerts for police officers or threats to police officers that have information that's related to a vehicle entered into the system. It would also alert us. And then we can also add sex offenders. We can click on that feature. So if a sex offender, all sex offenders have their vehicles registered, if they were entered through the system, it would alert us. Not necessarily that any action would be taken, but we would know that vehicle had entered the town. So let me show you some of the things that where we're going to be putting these cameras. So like I just said, the cameras only keeps the data for 30 days, and then it's automatically deleted. It only captures the rear. So these are some of the things I've already talked about. And if we do enter into the system, every officer, whoever enters that system, has to have a reason to enter it, has to have an independent login, and only, so it's identified, so it tracks everybody that enters the system. And if they were to pull up a particular license plate, it requires them to fill in a justification. So they can't just say a one-word sentence. It has to actually be a true justification with an investigative number, a case number, an event number or something, so we can audit that at the end of the day, which we will be doing audits. And all that stuff will be available to the public. So what Flock has also done on their government website, which is where we get the access from, Representative Norton will also talk about Flock here in a minute. So we bought into the government program, which allows for us to have access. And so when they provide us a transparency page. It's a page that'll be put on our website. It's data collected straight from Flock, and it'll capture the number of vehicles that crossed the cameras, the number of times that we entered it, the number of stolen vehicles that have passed it, and the number and what we do with the system. So, and then it'll remind you that we delete the data after 30 days, who we share this data with, if anybody, the fact that we have an active policy, that we have internal policies on how to use this system, and that link is attached to our page. So if you want to see how we use it internally and control all this information, we have our own policy, which is attached to your packages. So moving on. Any questions so far? So like I said, we're buying 9 cameras, one for each entrance, any way to get into the town. And it's only for the cars entering the town. We do not have the ability to capture anybody leaving town. So our first camera is going to be right over here by the Value Place Hotel off Trophy Branch. And it's going to be looking into town. The next is on Plaza Drive by the Holiday Inn. So as you're coming out of South Lake. And then there's Trophy Wood. It's going to be right here next to our building. So as you go up Trophy Wood. And then we have one on 114. It's going to capture just going into the Plantation apartment complex, because everybody knows about that cut through to get into town. Here's PD 30. This is one of the newer ones. This is going to capture that turn lane going into PD 30. And then we have one on Trophy Club Drive. So after you turn off of 114 on Trophy Club Drive, working your way up by the clock tower, we'll have a camera. And then Trophy Lake is over there by Walgreens as you turn off at 114. And then Marshall Creek over there by the middle school, Medlin, right before you get to Bobcat. And then the last camera is over here on Bobcat, right across from the water tower. This is the one, we originally talked about 8, and then right at the last minute, we added one more, because when we talked about it, and we found a little bit more money to capture this one, because if you know anything about how to get into town, all you had to do was go around the high school, and you would have gotten around one of our cameras. So, and this is what the data looks like. So when we go in the system, I know you've seen other descriptions of what pulls up the camera when you see it. This is what we're going to be getting. So we'll get an actual photograph of the car, of the license plate, and then an image of the back of the car. So this is right from a law enforcement government image side of the house. It does tell you all the other information, how many minutes ago it entered town, the location, and if you can read the number, it tells us the number. Any questions on that? Okay, thank you. So today, there are already license plate readers coming into town. So during a 30-day period, this is for the last 10 months of a license plate reader companies coming into Trophy Club. The orange lines are every street that they hit. This is public data off of the Vigilant website, and it shows where people are here driving through our town looking for cars, for repossessions and stuff like that. And actually, last Thursday, we had a car repoed from a driveway based off of one of these cameras that located it for a bank. So, you know, there are license plate reader people driving through our town all the time. It's like every other day they come through town. So that's just for reference. And then, you know, some of the information that's out there. It's not a surveillance system. It's not monitored. We actually have it there to protect us, so in case something happens. I mean, there've been a number of events that have happened in town where it would have been nice to have this type of technology to help us. I mean, we had an event at the school where a kid left the school. We had a description of a car that he left in, and about the time frame he left. We could have used it there. We had a call from another police department about a potential kidnapping where the person was headed this way. Had we had that information, we could have seen that the car was already here for 6 hours before and gone back to them and said, hey, the timing's a little off. I mean, things happen in the world that technology like this could help us resolve things and de-escalate things and change the way we look at it. So it does have a benefit. It does not do facial recognition. We don't have that capability. And then, like I said, everything goes away after 30 days. And it's not subject to open records, so nobody can get hold of it. And if we were to download some of this data and use it for an investigative purpose, it goes into our case file. It sits there as long as the case is open, and then when the case is closed, when the investigation's finished, then it goes and it's subject to the Texas Records Retention Policy. And then when the records are to be destroyed, they're destroyed. But that would expose them to an open records after that period, and during that period of when the case is closed for investigation and the record retention policy kicks in. So that's when open records might come in. So, any questions before I turn this over to Ms. Norton?
I'll just ask you to explain a little bit about how they will be mounted.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not pushing it hard enough.
Yeah, don't push it. Don't push it.
Don't push it.
There you go.
Great.
Yeah, so I'll let Ms. Norton go into the technical thing, but it's about a 10-foot pole. It's painted black. It has a solar panel mounted on it and a small battery box, and then a very small camera. It's about 12 inches by,
The size of a football?
yeah, about the size of a flat football is what the cameras actually look like. And the way we've discussed positioning them, they won't be as exposed as you might think, like in some other cities. We'll hide them as best we can, but we also want people to know they're there as a deterrent. Because one of the biggest things about this system is that it is a deterrent. I mean, no matter what happens at the end of the day, if we can stop something from ever happening, that's what we want. We don't want bad things to happen and then have to use this system. We never want to have to use this. But it's great to have it as a deterrent, and that's what it's really for. So,
Chief, I have one quick question. I know we haven't, you've done this presentation a couple of times before, but we haven't had it here. What is the reason that other agencies are using?
yeah.
What is the reason that other agencies are using this system?
It's a great question, and I actually have Sergeant Webb from Fort Worth, who's going to speak with us tonight. They just installed these cameras in Fort Worth. So that's exactly what it is. It's a crime reduction tool, and it's a deterrent to crime. And it's working in over 1,000 cities. And not just, Flock started off, and I'm sorry to get in your presentation, as an HOA tool to help reduce crimes in HOAs. They went as a private sector, and they had success, and they jumped into the government sector as a cheaper version than the Motorola world that offers the other version. And we've all seen those weird boxes on the back and top of police cars that are the mobile version of license plate readers in every major police department in the country. So this is a cheap, effective way to deploy a system in a town that we can afford and get the same benefits of that deterrent. So, great. I'd like to introduce Jasmine Norton from Flock.
Good evening, guys. So a little bit information about Chief Arta had kind of alluded to about flock safety, as we did get started in neighborhoods, and our mission is to eliminate crime. And how we got started, our CEO Garrett, he is born and raised from Atlanta, Georgia. His neighborhoods were experiencing burglaries within the neighborhood, and he was able to capture a footage on a traditional Ring doorbell camera, gave it to Atlanta PD, and they said, great, you have the vehicle, but unfortunately, we're not able to solve this crime because we need a license plate. And so what he did was come out with his own technology, and did some research on LPRs, license plate readers, and he did a bid for 7 cameras, and it was $200,000. So for a neighborhood, that's unfeasible. So being the engineer that he is, he created his own technology and put it out around the neighborhood, and within 2 weeks got a hit, gave that to Atlanta PD, and was able to solve that crime. So we were originally in neighborhoods, then we went into the government sector, as well as now we actually did a whole commercial side as well, calling on just businesses and entities of that. So we're affordable technology for law enforcement. It's powered by solar and cellular. It's motion activated. It's on a, you can do it, you can fix it on our flock pole, and it's a 12-foot pole, or you can use existing infrastructure around the city for that. Just to give you a privacy standpoint on where we stand on our protecting our privacy, Chief Arta touched on it, but all of our data is only stored for 30 days, then it gets deleted. It's stored in the cloud by Amazon Web Services, so it's protected. We never sell this information to anyone. The government entity, the agency, owns the data. We just own the cameras, so it's all based on that as well. And then right here, it'll show you what it's not used for, as well as what it is used for. And then this is that transparency portal that he was talking about. So it's going to have the PD's license plate LPR policy on here, what it's detecting, what it's not detecting, as well as how many hits that the PD is getting for here. So this is what it will look like if they clicked on that link in Trophy Club. It would be Trophy Club PD. This is just an example for California. It shows retention. It'll show you the retention and everything right here, number of cameras, and who they're sharing with as well. And then this is also just how we prevent and eliminate crime. You know, just like you and your friends, y'all talk to each other, same way criminals do. So it's to be used as a deterrence. So once people are coming in maybe with stolen vehicles and are getting arrested, they're gonna be like, hey, we can't go into, we shouldn't go to Trophy Club, we need to go to somewhere else. They do that same thing, as well as if a stolen vehicle is rolling into Trophy Club, usually when that happens, they're not coming into town to just hang out. They're probably maybe coming in to prevent a further crime. So this would just be an early warning sign for your law enforcement agents there. So this is what it's detecting right here. So they can put these criterias into the system. So if a crime did occur, they're able to do the plate. So we detect no plates, fake plates, all of that, as well as the make and model of the vehicle. And then we're able to track up to 2 lane traffic here. And then what is our technology right here? So it's a license plate reader that's gathering objective evidence for law enforcement to use as an investigative tool. What it's not facial recognition, or it's not tracking any illegal immigrants or anything like immigration or traffic enforcement, and then that it automatically deletes everything. Any questions at all?
Real quick, I'd like to introduce Fort Worth Sergeant. They just installed their 60 cameras. I don't know if all 60 are up and running, but he has some stories he'd like to share with us. So I want to thank him for coming tonight.
So, we're actually over 100 now. They've been such a tremendous success for Fort Worth. And just to quickly introduce myself, I'm Sergeant Dalton Webb. I'm with Fort Worth Police Department. I'm in charge of what's called the Real-Time Crime Center with Fort Worth PD, and I'm also a deputy director over our Fusion Center. I administrate over Flock in Fort Worth, so I can certainly answer any questions that y'all have. My purpose here tonight, Chief Arata asked me to come here and basically explain how law enforcement may use it, if there's any questions about that or concerns about it. But I can say without any hesitation or any doubt whatsoever that Flock is the best technology enhancement we've had in Fort Worth in the past 10 years, and there's no question. We've had our first camera installed approximately a year ago. We have made over about 450 to 500 arrests since then. And these are not traffic ticket arrests. These are car burglaries, homicides, robberies, sexual assaults, all manner of crimes. So the biggest problem that law enforcement has, and I'm sure Chief Arata would agree on this, is when we have an investigation, our detectives, our investigators, this is not unique to Fort Worth, this is every agency. We investigate those crimes, and then when the case comes to a stopping point, it's called lack of an investigative lead. We don't have a lead. We don't have anywhere to go at that point. What Flock is doing for us in Fort Worth and doing in every other city that I've talked to is it's giving detectives and officers and investigators a continuance of that lead, which is resulting in arrests that we would never have made, ever. So it is tremendous in that. It is a fabulous tool. Probably one of the best stories. It's not a heinous crime, but it's a great story about how Fort Worth has used it. I guess it was about a month and a half ago, officers in my real-time crime center received an alert on a stolen vehicle entering an HOA in North Fort Worth, not too terribly far from here. They dispatched officers up there, told officers, the officers actually got it anyway, and they were headed that way anyway. It was about 2 in the morning when they got this. So stolen car going into an HOA, why is it doing that? You know, it shouldn't be there. It's a stolen vehicle. They arrived and saw 2 males walking down the roadway with backpacks on, checking car handles. They were car burglars. So they got those 2 guys in custody, got the car recovered. Now that's just one example of how we've had so many successes with this system. So I'm here to vouch for it, to tell you it is a great tool for us. I'm sure it would be a great tool for y'all. So any questions that y'all would like to ask me?
Okay. I wonder what, if you found any glitches or any problems in the past year that you've had it.
So in terms of like technical glitches with the software,
I'm
or
open to any glitches that you have, any complaints.
I personally don't have any complaints. I mean, it's software. Ultimately, it's going to have, just hard, software glitches, but nothing that is a concern to law enforcement.
So nothing but positive then.
Nothing but positive for us.
Thank you.
I have a question. If you could just, you gave the one example, but just kind of walk us through again what it would look like. So you have your intelligence center. Mm-hmm. We're saying that this is not being monitored 24/7. So how does it work from your end?
Yeah, so I don't think Trophy Club has a real-time crime center. So basically, just to explain what that is on our end, it's a room of officers, and we're out there assisting officers in the field, detectives, other agencies with researching things of that nature. So if an officer's on the side of the road and he's having trouble identifying somebody, he would call us to assist him, et cetera, et cetera. I imagine the way it would be used in Trophy Club is the officers in the field would be having the direct access. They would be receiving the hits in their cars, on their phones, or something of that nature. Am I answering your question correctly? Yes. So 24 hours a day. So even your midnight officers in the middle of the night, it would be pinging on those cars that were entering Trophy Club. So I'm sure the number is not as high as Fort Worth, the issues that y'all have, but I can guarantee you there are cars coming into Trophy Club that are doing something wrong.
Well, I guess my question, you've answered it. You're really only getting an alert if you have a problem.
That is correct. That is correct. It does not ping on Class C misdemeanors, which are tickets. That was one of the big concerns. It doesn't do speeding, anything like that nature. It's what we call Class B and above warrants, so arrestable, thefts, burglary of vehicles, things of that nature, and higher. Nothing low level. So, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You have the list of the speakers?
Okay, yes, we do have a list of speakers. Some have listed that they would not like to speak. They just, we're going to take it and it's going to go in the record. But first for not speaking. Annette? And I'm not going to butcher your last name. D-R-E-I. Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Annette Drabelbis, and I'm actually here because I really want some more information. I've said on my form I'm against this, and I'm against it because I don't have the details that I need. So some of it was answered when you answered about the ORR, but is this open to subpoena? Because when I look at the Flock system, Flock says that it is owned by Trophy Club, so we own the data, not Flock. So if we have people in custody disputes or we have divorces, can they not subpoena the data? And the reason I think this is important is I have read on Google that there are communities that are inundated with requests for this data. So is this going to drive our police department to need more resources based on getting this type of data? The other thing I would like to know is this going to be downloaded? I understand it goes away from Flock at day 30. But are we downloading all of the data on day 29 to another database that we're going to be keeping it? These are the answers or the questions that I've posed and I've sent in an email, and I really haven't received any answers. So I'd like to see if I can maybe get an update on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chief?
Yeah, on the downloading, we will not be downloading any data except if it's one plate specifically to a crime that we're looking at. All the bulk data will be deleted after 30 days. And in a court subpoena will be answered, but a court subpoena is usually for particular, or it's not bulk data. So, yes, we would have to answer a subpoena, but usually subpoenas are for just limited information to whatever's being asked, not just bulk data. That's something that we may even as a town try to fight. So,
Thank you. Ms. Watson-Williams?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm personally against trying to accumulate information about cars that come into our neighborhood. Trophy Club, technically, at least what I heard, is supposed to be number 1 or 2 in Texas in safety. Why do we need to spend the resources on something that, while we talk about the positives, no one has indicated the nefarious uses that could be made with this data? And I'm uncomfortable with gathering information that could be used in a nefarious way, especially for people, whether you admit it or not, that look like me.
Stand next to everyone. So to answer your question, Ms. Watson, for Trophy Club is safe, and like you mentioned, it might be number 2 or 3. Fulshire is number 1 in the state of Texas, and they actually have 7 flock cameras. That's like in Houston, and it's not detecting any race, ethnicity, any of that information. It's just getting the tools from the national hot list and then alerting PD. So it's very objective evidence that is getting brought to the law enforcement. So it's just objective evidence so they can have a tool to keep Trophy Club safe. I think I answered all the questions. I'm not sure.
Yes, thank you.
well, and just to add to that, it doesn't take an image of who's driving the car, so we don't even know who's driving the vehicle. So,
But once you have the license plate number, the police department does have the ability to ascertain information about the people that they are looking at coming in and out of Trophy Club.
correct.
Right.
That's true, but we wouldn't go look at the system.
I'm sorry.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Okay.
Go ahead, Chief, I'd like to hear your opinion.
Yes. Yes, sir. The system is a passive system. It's not something, it's capturing 100 tags or as many cars coming down a day. And I'm sure every other police department would tell you, we don't have the resources to go look at this system. It's there just like every other camera we have. Only do we look at it when we need it. And yes, I understand what's going on in the world today, and this is not who we are. That's why we have the policies in place we have the restrictions we have in place, and we'll have audits to make sure our officers or anybody is not touching the system the way they're not supposed to. I mean, I've tried to put every safeguard I could available in this, and that's why I've included my policy in the packet that we gave out. So, I mean, I hope that helps. I mean, I understand, but I've tried to do everything I can to make sure those types of things don't happen.
Thank you. And again, I'm going to spell the name, Blychu, I believe it's a K. Mr. McCormick?
Please state your name and address when you approach the mic. Thank you, sir.
Am I going to go take it? No. I'm Jim McCormick. I live out in the Highlands, 2818 Chatswood Drive. A little bit of history, not too long ago, but we weren't wearing masks at the time. Someone came through our neighborhood 2 in the morning, stole a pickup truck across our street. We got cameras, Ring doorbells, and we've talked at length, believe me. And they were able to pull the information to find out. I mean, we had the guys walking across the street, crawling underneath the truck, cutting the low jack. I don't want to get too deep into the investigation, but probably when they bought this 1-year-old used truck, they only got 1 key fob, not 2. So the dealership, somebody there was probably involved. But the main thing was the cameras that we had were able to pull probably the make and model of the car, certainly the color, brief description of the occupants. What we were missing was a license plate. They tried to look at the traffic cams, couldn't get the license plate. If they'd had that, it'd been a great tool. And that's really where the dead end one was at. They'd have had a hot lead, and they probably would have been able to get after that pretty quick. But that was the missing link, as was said before. I've spoken to Chief Arad about this. I'm comfortable that they've put the safeguards and the rails on the sides to make sure this system, like any other tool that law enforcement has, isn't abused. It only takes, checking the Trophy Club social media accounts once a week, and you'll see the guys coming in and rolling through the neighborhood at 2 in the morning looking for unlocked cars and stealing stuff. They're taking our stuff. This is just another tool for Chief Arad and his folks to solve crimes and to deter crimes. And to educate myself and others that are looking on social media, I went and looked at some people's, and my social media account for people who chimed in on this for and against. Interestingly, that a lot of us have pictures on our social media with a geocache. So I can tell where, when, and who was in the picture for everything you got splashed on your social media accounts. I'm not worried about a license plate reader. So that's my point. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick. Ms. Olson, Jennifer Olson.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Olson. Address is 340 Inverness Drive, Trophy Club. I actually listened to the presentations with Ccpd last year and this year. And this has actually been a topic of conversation since June of 2020. And that's when it was introduced. I don't know, I can't really find good records on who was here and who wasn't for the meeting. But anyway, so this has been a topic of conversation for a while. And I guess, everyone's bringing up the privacy issues and things like that, and I think that's a major issue. But one of the things that I'm noticing is that the Ccpd has a robust budget. You guys have a lot of money, and you're getting more because of the point of delivery sales tax that's coming in, because now all of the citizens are spending all this money. And so when it's delivered to our address, that increases more sales tax. So you guys are getting a lot more money because legislation changed. And just in the last 18 months, we've got 5 new cars, which include animal admin, a hybrid Ford, 3 Tahoes or 2 Tahoes, electric motorbike, 20 tasers, ballistic vests, flock camera system, another police officer, which is through a grant, additional training, RASO ticket writers, and special equipment for drug testing. And then I guess next year, we're looking at an electric Tesla that is going to be introduced just for law enforcement. So it's like we're spending so much money for a really safe town. I don't understand why we're replenishing things that we already have. We're only buying new stuff. We're not looking at used. This camera system, I don't understand how it justifies for the few cars that are getting stolen, that the police had determined that it's basically a victim-assisted crime, meaning the victim is partial to blame because they're leaving the cars unlocked, they're leaving their fobs in there, and they're just taking it. I was asked when I talked to one of the council people if there were any other solutions outside these cameras to help. And one of the things I mentioned was the Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority, that all of us that drive cars, we pay for it through our insurance, and it's through the Texas legislature. They provide grants and training, and they'll train police officers and give them access to proprietary information for free. I don't understand why we're not using sources that our state already has available. Greg Abbott's, over this entire program. So I'm going to leave a couple of these for you guys to look at, but in here, they talk about doing, they'll help with billboards, and they'll educate the police, they'll educate the public. We need marketing, we need people to be reminded to lock their cars up. I mean, it's something that I know we make mistakes, but it's not the police's responsibility. It's the individual's responsibility to lock their stuff up. If my purse gets stolen and I left my car unlocked, I can't justify having a camera system that we're paying for every year, and also our privacy is being compromised in the process because I didn't lock my car up. And so now the police are going to try to fix that and put camera systems everywhere. Anyway, I just don't see how we can keep spending money on this stuff. I mean, there's just a lot of money that you guys are spending, and I don't know why. So, but can I leave this? Okay.
Thank you.
Jelly. If I may address the budget issue real quick. Yes, the CCPD has replaced almost 85% of our general fund. So the police department is funded in its operation budget by the CCPD. So that your residential taxes do not support us because of the CCPD. So that's the advantage. Oh, yeah, no, exactly, you do. Yes, so, thank you. But that's what the money's for. So all the operation stuff.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah.
I believe it's Mr. Spooner. Scott?
I'm Scott Spooner. I live at 2 Creekmere Drive. I'm a citizen of Trophy Club, and I support the cameras. As Ms. Olson talked about the BMVs, most of them are unlocked cars, and people continue to do it. We put signs all over the town, and people still leave cars unlocked. So that's not doing it. Doorbell cams, people have started putting those in their houses after they get victimized. Same thing with security cameras. It's after they become a victim. I applaud the police department for being proactive and putting a license plate reader system in and chasing those criminals to another town. Because once you have them in, and everybody knows that Trophy Club has cameras, we're not going there. We're going to go somewhere else. And as far as wasting money, I look at it as we're investing money to make this town safer and keep it safer. We can't wait until something happens and then say, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Well, let's put in license plate readers. Thank you.
Mr. Coons?
Frank Coons.
Ms. Windmill?
I'm Jennifer Windmill. I live at 7 Overhill Drive. And please don't compare me on social media and my phone to having cameras at the entrance, because social media and my phone are my personal, the things that I want to do, where this is government surveillance. And Chief, you know I'm in total support of the cops, but I do not like more government surveillance is not called for in this town. Supposedly, we're one of the safest cities. Once the data is collected, I don't care who says they delete it. She says it's going to an Amazon cloud. That means Amazon has it forever. They have our ad data forever. It never goes away, ever, ever. So there's always that. Please don't do this. Please don't do this. We are a safe town. Hire another police officer if we need to. If we need to have another police officer at night, that's not a problem. I don't see anything wrong with that. But we do not need any more government surveillance taking over the citizens of this town. Thank you so much.
Ms. Ayers, Jennifer Ayers. Thank you. Nikki Lee. Nick Sanders.
Nick Sanders, 7 Hayes Court, Trophy Club, Texas. I want to speak in favor of what you're doing with the cameras, but do have some questions that I couldn't find answers for. So there's a dollar figure of what Ccpd is going to fund. The question is that annually under a contract that cannot be canceled, or can it be canceled at any time? And secondly, is there a second part of that that's in the general fund operation that's not being funded by Ccpd? Thank you.
So it's a 2-year agreement, and then it's a subscription rate, so it's annually, and then once that 2-year mark comes up, you just have to let us know in 30 days. If this is not successful for you guys, we'll pack up all of our stuff and part ways mutually. So.
And it is 100% funded through the Ccpd, and it's $22,000 a year.
Mr. Sanders, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Dave Edstrom.
My name is Dave Edstrom. I live at 269 Oak Hill Drive in Trophy Club, and I'm here tonight in favor of the cameras. And I want to call your attention to a mailing we all received at our houses, and it addressed a couple of issues that I think are incorrect. It says, explore other solutions, innovative ideas. That's thinking backwards. That is not taking advantage of the technology advantages we have made over the years, and we need to do that. The technology can support those other things, but those other things should not be used in place of the technology. So it is very important to take advantage of the technology. And I want to make a quick note. Many of our residents have already installed cameras, and we have them at my house. In addition to that, big businesses, small businesses, and others in town have all installed cameras. I can show you at the 7-Eleven. I can show you at the Trophy Club Medical Hospital. I can show you at Walmart or Home Depot or any of these places, and we have all seen them install cameras, and we have lived with that. So the second point on here says violating the public's reasonable expectation of privacy. Frankly, my friends, in public, you don't have privacy. You have to act in public differently than you can act privately. And the most important thing that we can do with this is take advantage of this as an addition to keeping our town safe. There is no question the town is one of the safest in the state, perhaps in the United States, and that's wonderful, and that's why I like to live here. But the the big and most important thing is to keep moving ahead, meaning we should take advantage not only of those old-time things like locking our cars, that's a good idea, but we should also take advantage of all of the technology in front of us that can help assist. So I thank you for your support of this idea. I hope you will continue to do that along with the town council, and I would like to see those cameras installed. Thank you.
James Herschelwood? Oh,
J.G. Isherwood, 2 Greenbrook Court. And I don't know what happened. There were like 5 people here at all the other meetings, and now we have, I hope you guys keep coming back. You know, it really is great to see such community involvement in what's going on. So I'm grateful for that. We don't have a safe community by accident. We've been proactive in doing it with our law enforcement. We've been proactive in training equipment, and that's established our law enforcement in our town on par with any in the country. So we have some fantastic people. We have an excellent relationship between the residents of the town and law enforcement, and those all contribute to making us safe, and that's really important. So that and the fact that most of our residents are really well armed make our town safe. You know, and it's really, but we need to make sure that the police have the tools to do the job. You know, we discussed this, I think, a lot last time we did it. Question is, when it comes to essential liberty versus temporary security, do we really give anything up with these cameras? And I think the answer is no. You know, do we lose anything by having this? There would not be a more fervent Second Amendment or Fourth Amendment advocate than me, period. You know, I'm a profound libertarian. And when this first got breached, I think it was before 2020, it was several years ago. I was dead set against it until I learned a little bit more about it and the capability. So it's been on the table for several years. And as I learned the different safeguards that were involved in the process, I found that the chance for abuse of this was very small. And the benefits that law enforcement could use to do their job could be very great. And it wasn't a lot different than me going down the street with my iPhone recording people. I mean, I can do that with the same type of app or anything else. It really doesn't, this isn't a great deal different than that. You know, there's technology that lets people do this, and to be honest, I'd be more concerned about an HOA having this than the police department having it, and they do. You know, just because they don't have the oversight that we have. So, you know, repo men, everybody's using this. It's not a warrantless search. And I think that this actually will be a gain. Now, you know, things like this need supervision, and we have supervision. That's why the CCPD board is here. That's your job, is to supervise what's going on. And could it be abused? Potentially. The information that people could get from this is not much greater than any other information. So I don't see a lot of downsides to it. I do see upsides. I do see if my kid got grabbed or something by a car and somebody happened to see a green Camaro license plate, Texas ABC, they could plug that in and they'd have a starting point to get my kid back. So I think this provides a additional tool, and it's not really the loss of anything that I would consider a constitutional issue. So I'm for the cameras, and I'm grateful to have served with you all. Thank you.
thank you. I think that's all our questions. Do we have anyone else who has a question? I have a question. Please.
My name is Monica. Last time I did this, the way I walk. Chief, I'm great. I'm Wanda Franklin. I live at 4 Turnberry Court here in Trophy Club. I have a question for you. Have we had a rash of things to happen in the last couple of years that I'm not aware of? I mean, are we suffering? I thought it was a great idea about the cameras, but I'm wondering, everyone that comes to my door says, I only travel 30 miles an hour because I know they'll give me a ticket if I go 31. And I say, you're right, you know. But have we have a rash of wrong things happening lately?
Yes, ma'am, and that's one of the reasons why we move forward with this. So this goes back like we did with the dog park. We were having break-ins every month at the dog park. So we work with the town council well, we work with the town manager, and we put cameras up at the dog park, and for the last 2 years, we haven't had a single issue at the dog park.
That's because
So-
we got rid of all of our dogs.
That's right, exactly, yeah, we saw that. So, but yes, we've had a number of times, like you've heard some of the speakers already talk about, in the middle of the night, cars come into town with 4 or 5 people in them, they stop in the middle of the street, people jump out and check cars' doors and either steal the car if somebody left their keys in it, or take property out of it and leave with it. And we had, 2 weeks ago, we had it at 3 o'clock in the morning over there by Lakeview Elementary on Lake Circle. I mean, and people call us the next day, or when their cameras go off, because everybody has cameras nowadays, and they get video, and they call us up and we get the video. Actually, we posted it the other day. So, yes, and we average reported, last year, I think we had 40-something. I put it in my letter on the internet the other day, and then so far this year, we've already had 24 to 25 attempted break-ins already, and the guns and stuff stolen. So it's happening. So yes, they do come to our town, and they're part of gangs out of other cities that come here, and routinely, every quarter, they make their way here. And it's interesting, through our investigations, we've talked to some of the people that other cities have arrested. We go interview them and try to figure out why Trophy Club, and they have no idea they went to Trophy Club. What they did was they just look at Google Maps and they find the most pools they can find, and that's where they go.
All right.
So, does that help, Dr. Franklin?
Yes, that does. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sir,
I'm sorry, I'm not on I didn't get a sign-in sheet, but I do have a comment.
please come up.
Am I not going to be allowed to speak? I put in the sheet.
I'm sure if all the sheets come up.
Okay. Yeah, you'll be able to step up in a second.
Yeah.
I'm Clark Simmons, I live on Chatswood Drive. And I will tell you up front, I'm not a proponent of any type of surveillance. I have heard a lot of testimonials here tonight about how great this system is. I've looked on the internet for the last couple of weeks because I knew I was going to eventually get to come to this meeting. Don't normally come to your meetings, sorry, not a good citizen in that aspect. But I will tell you one thing. One thing I haven't seen is I've seen no hard data that this system actually reduces crime. You won't find it on the internet. You won't find it on flock safety. You won't find it anywhere because there's no statistical fact that says this type of system actually eliminates crime. Does it help solve crime? Yeah. But does it eliminate it? No. Nowhere have I seen. And as far as your data goes, they'll be hacked. AWS will be hacked. Your information will go to someone. Yes. Can they tie your tag number? No. However, there's many items on the internet or data that's already been hacked that will allow folks to draw patterns, pattern recognition. This system is on a national level. They have a system, I believe it's called Talon, if it's still active, that has the ability to track you throughout the United States with anyone that has a camera like that. If I wanted to be surveilled, I'd move to China, but not Trophy Club, Texas. My opinion. Thanks, guys.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir, I'm sorry. Did you have? Sorry.
Yeah, I just want to mention one thing about the documentation. So in Fort Worth, just to relay how we've had a reduction in crime. In the Star Telegram, I guess it was about a week and a half ago. Oh, sorry. Yeah, about a week and a half ago in the Star Telegram was an article that ran about Las Vegas Trail. And I don't know if anybody here is familiar with the Las Vegas Trail. It's one of the highest crime areas we have in Fort Worth historically every year. That was the first place we deployed flock, and we deployed it heavily over there. And within a year, we've had a 22% reduction in crime. So if you look back, and you can Google it, it's on Star Telegram. Now, obviously, I'll be honest, there are a number of factors that go into crime reduction. There's partnerships with the community. There's, investment in the infrastructure in that area. But I personally think that flock had a big impact in that.
Again, no statistical data.
Sure.
Since everybody spoke short sessions, may I have a few extra minutes?
A few.
You can stop me when you're ready. I'll try to skip over things. My name is Yuri Borchuk. I live at 1 Overhill Drive in our great town. And when I started out, unlike everybody else, a lot of people before me, I intend to speak in favor of the camera system. But I'd like you to avail yourself of my experience. I wasn't born in this country. I was born in Ukraine. I was born as a Ukrainian. My name is Yuri, and it's not Russian. It's Ukrainian. It's not Jewish. It's not Polish. Those who are Russians were people who scared us. And when the Russians started coming in World War II, I was born 82 years ago. When the Russians started coming, my parents hauled to safe Germany, civilized Germany. We walked all the way, and in 1943 arrived in Germany. And my parents and I found great super safety in the southern part of Germany. I survived the war because of surveillance. Super safe Germany had a special meaning to some of us. When we moved to the States, I was dismayed over the lack of safety in the United States. I lived for 13 years in Germany, came here, and people actually said what they felt like saying without asking for permission. They talked and met anybody they wanted without asking for permission. They traveled where they wanted, to places they wanted, and how often they wanted. Hell, they even sold homes and quit jobs and moved someplace else, willy-nilly, all without asking the government. It was disturbing. How could that be? None of the things that I got used to were here. Nobody watching or taking photos. Nobody spying or ratting out their neighbors. No block leader to answer to. How could everything be in order, or as the Germans used to say, alles in Ordnung? How was this safe? In 1952, when I moved here, such things went missing from my life for 75 years. But at this time, all this time, I always remember the super safety I had in Germany. And here in Trophy Club at 82 years, you have the super safety camera plan. It's fantastic. I will see again before I die a super safe city, a super safe place, all monitored by cameras. And by the way, to help some of you keep up with this, from 1943 to 1945, the super safety I had was inside Heinrich Himmel's concentration camp. To get there, we were first surveilled and photographed on the streets of Germany. We were cataloged, given papieren to offer IDs, and then we were arrested and locked up for our safety, all because we were undesirable somethings, foreigners in our case. Concentration camp safety was super and absolute. Looking at the countryside were framed pictures through the barbed wire. Daily standing in ranks at dawn for head counts and name counts. Wonderful experience, winter and summer. Adults marched outside to work and parties outside, eating liquid gruel with fish heads once a day. Good weight reduction program. We were living in huddles in one bay barracks with whole roofs. And all of this was safe. Nobody committed a crime in that city. Well, except the guards. All this was under the eyes of the guards in long green coats, in jack boots, steel pot helmets, holding burp guns, and leading dogs. Super safety for 3 years. But hey, we were super safe. The Americans and Allies didn't bomb concentration camps. The Germans died and we lived. We were super safe. Quite a price to pay for being super safe. And all that joy and super safety started in the 1930s, before I was ever born. In Germany, which was a civilized country, Beethoven and Brahms and operas and lawyers and doctors and God knows what else. In Germany, it started with simple steps: surveillance, cameras, photography, catalogs, and papers. National registration cards were papers. That didn't happen and wasn't useful until the Nazis had them. In which case, vivant your Papieren is what we got. Every place you stepped, in camp they knew who we were. They didn't need to do that except once a day at head count.
Sir, can I ask you to start wrapping up, please?
Okay, speed up?
Can you please wrap up?
Okay.
If you can give us one more minute, please.
Gotcha, okay. By the way, how do you like the COVID ID cards? The arrest and concentration came later. You know what? The cameras aren't going to do anything because drivers will stop driving through. They'll park at Walmart. They'll sneak in through the backyards, and we'll still have the crime. I suggest that, one, you save yourself the budget, because I can find a way for you to get money from Washington for this. You can have instant surveillance. Tomorrow, maybe, a week from now, 2 weeks from now. Hell, it's already coming. We just got to get more. What you have is our great United States Attorney General Heinrich Himmler. Oh, I'm sorry. Merrick Garland. He already issued a memo about the bad people who badmouthed Board of Education. He's sending FBI agents there to photograph and investigate. You can just call him and ask him for a few more, bring his mobile cameras here, and you'll have surveillance tomorrow without spending a dime. He's going to send it to you free.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. Very good. The scary part of what I'm saying, if I may.
I'm sorry, sir, we've given you 10 minutes.
This is not fiction. It happened in Germany, and I can destroy the nice gentleman's plan here and her company there by saying in front of their presentation of what the capabilities are at this time. And at this time will change, like the gentleman said, will be hacked or will be expanded or the contract will be enhanced.
Thank you. Linda Sanders.
Linda Sanders, 7 Hayes Court, Trophy Club. I appreciate your patience with everyone and having the opportunity to talk. You can tell by the sound of the applause who is for and who is against, and I've been very interested to look on social media. The vehemence with which some people post about their enthusiasm for not doing this. And we had 2 younger women decline to speak that had stood up to speak, but said they were in favor. So I'm standing to speak in favor of this because I have confidence in my commissions, in my elected officials, and in my hired people to do their job. And I appreciate what Chief Arata has done in doing his homework. And I appreciate the sergeant coming from Fort Worth to share his experiences instead of assuming or thinking we know more than the actual people that have implemented. And the very name of your commission board is crime prevention. And I think what better way to prevent, to be proactive, to prevent, than to allow our officers to be better prepared and to have these cameras to do their job. One person said, since all this debate started, which I thought was very succinctly said, which is something Dave and I can't do, talk succinctly, and that was, what are you so worried about? If you're not doing what you're not supposed to do, why do you care if someone looks at your license? I'm for it. I hope you will consider it.
Apologies, late arrival, didn't get a piece of paper. Steve Allen, Churchill down, I think, a couple of doors down. Just a couple of questions. Number one, we're comparing to Fort Worth, which is 400 square mile city, and I think we're like 4 square miles. Seems a bit of a off comparison. But the other thing is, I'd like to know what happens when my number plate gets read. Is it a call out to a web service that then goes and gets it? Because what I don't understand is, for every number plate that's going through, we could just make a call. If it gets a hit, store the hit. Why are you storing my number plate if it's not hitting anything? The only thing I can think is if there's abductions or something else and you want to look it up, but how many abductions are we having in our city? So, yeah, for me personally, not for it. I'd be for it if you're just storing like the events, but that's not me. Like, I'm not eventing.
Chief, Jim?
It's there for investigative leads. I mean, and like I said, it's not, nobody's, yeah. It's stored for 30 days for investigative purposes. So if something was to happen, usually we learn about something after the fact. So the next morning or the next day. So if it wasn't captured, it wouldn't be worth a lead. And so that's where, like Sergeant Webb was talking about, it gives us the ability to go back in time and try to find another lead to continue the investigation, to find out, just to help us. But all it captures is the license plate. And so.
But what's the occurrence of that, right? Like, I think one of the examples was given was if my car gets stolen, then, hey, it's going to go through and we'll get the license plate. I know my license plate. If my car gets stolen, I'm telling you.
Right.
You don't need that system.
Yeah,
The car that drove them in was identified.
Yeah.
They stole the truck, but they couldn't read the license plate.
Yeah.
But we have systems for looking them up, right? If I
No, no. Well, we're not talking about your vehicle. We're talking about the vehicle the individuals use to come here. That.
You have a way to do that now, correct?
That's right. No, not to capture cameras. Oh, no, we know how to look up the license plate if we were to know it. But we're talking about, yeah, the side of the vehicle or, yeah, so. Okay.
Ma'am, you have one?
I'm looking at this brochure. Excuse me, I'll stand up there and tell you what I am. Okay. My name is Joyce Johnson. I'm very happy to live in Trophy Club. But I'm also, I mean, this is like the best place. I'm here from Washington State. I won't go back, okay? Sure, you're stuck with me. But this is what a lot of my neighbors and I live in Chimney Rock across from the elementary school. It says here, plate, it says make, whatever, color, cool. And then it says last visit 3:15 p.m. Who gives a rip? You know, like you're telling, I go to the grocery store and I come back and it says she visited at 3:15. I don't want to be monitored like that. I want to be able to come and go. Here's the other one. It says, seen 3 times in the last 30 days. Do you want that? I'm thinking, you can see me every day if you want to, but please don't record me and saying this is it. The other one that makes me a little bit tense is resident. That's the one that makes me a little bit tight.
It's already a broken promise. They weren't going to do that.
Okay.
But that's what it says.
People that live here are coming here, and people that don't live here
Okay. yeah, okay.
But the thing is how do you, okay, resident. How do you know I'm a resident? You've had to check my plate to know that
Well-
and where I live.
Well, that information is coming from Flock's other side. I
Uh-huh.
showed you what our description looks like, and it
Yeah.
does not tell us if it's a
Good.
resident.
Well, I
I'd have
understand.
to actually go, take your license plate, run it, and then look at the address.
That's great. That's great.
But it's
I've-
not automatic.
No problem. My question is also, I thought I was on time, but apparently there was some information handed out. I'd like to know, or have one of your brochures, whatever it was you handed
the
out.
agenda packet.
So that I can be practically intelligent. But I certainly appreciate your time and the effort and the people that have at least been unafraid to step up and say, I'm not comfortable with this, and this is why.
That's why we're here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Okay, Suzanne.
James McDonald, live on Trophy Club on Ross Court. I've heard a lot of crap while I've been sitting in here and everything like that, but I haven't heard much comments about the fact that we got a pretty close to a free ride for 2 years with this, because the numbers I heard quoted for the first 2 years are not ridiculous at all. One good major car theft will take care of this month on it. And if we don't like what's taking place over that 2-year period, we're out of it. So I think there's a little bit of, I don't know, fear or whatever it is here. You're not giving up anything by having somebody take a picture of your car as it drives in. And that three in a month, well, what if it's been 16 in a month and they've not been visiting anyone? That might give you a little hint something's going on out here. So I think there's a lot of information that we can gather from this license plate. Look, I think I heard you saying something about the resident.
Yeah.
Just now. We're not going to show residents. That's good. That's good. And we can modify things in the middle of it if we don't like it. But if we don't do it, we ain't got it. Thank you.
Shorty. Susan Edstrom, 269 Oak Hill Drive. Chief, a couple questions. The pictorial here is not what we're planning to use. This was the version an HOA would use, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So what you guys should be concerned about is you got a mailer. No one told you who was that mailed it. Do you know who mailed this to you? No. Nobody knows who mailed this to you. And they sent you poor data. This picture is not the version that Trophy Club plans to use. So what this tells me is the person that sent this doesn't know what they're talking about either. So, couple questions. CCPD for the residents. Where does the money come to fund CCPD?
It's a quarter% of the sales tax, and it's voted on by the citizens.
Okay, so a bunch of you got something outside about a petition to dissolve CCPD. As a former council member, let me educate you, okay? Coming from your sales tax dollars, that is funded not only by you and me, but people who shop and spend their money here. You do away with CCPD, all of those funds fall back on you as residents, and that will could mean a tax rate increase. So if you're going to be signing petitions, make sure you truly understand what you are signing. If you do away with CCPD, that revenue's got to come from somewhere. And if it's not coming from sales tax revenue, it's going to come from our property taxes. So things were handed out with minimal information. Make sure that if you're going to sign a petition, you know darn good and well what you're signing and what it means. And this mailer was incorrect. So you're receiving bad information. Chief went through everything. They're not collecting information. They're not collecting whether you're a resident or not. What's happening is, if my car is broken into and my ring phone picks up a car, I get the side of a car. it's a green something. Great, we know it's a green something and it looks like an Acura. They can go back and look in that time frame and look at the cameras and did a car like that come into Trophy Club, and what's the license plate number? This is a tool. If you back the blue, and I believe that Trophy Club's a town that really backs the blue, if I'm not mistaken. This is a technology tool to get ahead of what people that are doing crimes in areas are doing. I know what I'm saying it again. So this is another tool. This is not it's not PII, and I got news for you. Go online. You can grab a license plate. I can go to Walgreens and get a license plate and log onto a tool and put in the license plate and get who you are and where you live. It's not private. Your license plate isn't private. Do you cover it when you go out every day? I don't think so. Your license plate is not private. Everybody sees it every day. When you go into a parking lot of a store, when you go into a school, when you drop your kid off, your license plate is seen every day. This is not private, and this is not something that's going to be monitored every day. Our resources are not going to be utilized to look at license plate numbers that come into our community every day. It's going to be used as a tool so that if there's a crime, and all we've got is a description of a car, they go back at that point in time, and they look up the license to see if there's a car that fit that description, and they get that last piece of the puzzle, the license plate.
So Chief, when you pull all the license plates, if there's a crime, and you pull the license plate, and my car happens to be coming into town at that hour, you're gonna pull my license plate along with everybody else's license plate, so I'm gonna be a suspect, right?
No, it doesn't work that way. Now, if your car fit the description of the one particular.
Description, how will you be able to pull any?
Well,
Ma'am,
yeah.
Let him speak.
ma'am.
Come up here. So basically, the way it works is if we don't have a description, then we don't even have a starting point to even use this system, right? So it's not just something we just go look and we'll just pull all the cars that came in that hour. It doesn't work that way because we wouldn't even know what hour to pull it from. So it's a tool because everybody has cameras in town, because all these streets we get, I mean, that's where we get the leads from. So like the one we posted the other day, we had a great brand new Ring camera installed on a driveway. It gave us a great image of a car. We would have been able to say, hey, it's this color, it's this type of car, and it's in this part of town. We would look at that particular camera and type in a description, and hopefully around 3 a.m. in the morning when the camera caught the picture, we could see that particular car, and it would give us that image only.
So you can only pull that, you're only gonna be pulling that particular car? Because what if somebody comes in and they don't have a stolen car, but they're doing crime
Right.
in Trophy Club? You're not gonna know because.
No, exactly. We wouldn't,
Okay.
we would only know when somebody would
stolen
report it.
car.
And hopefully somebody on the street would have a camera, or somebody would see something to give us the lead to go look in the system.
Okay.
That's why it's
My
not monitored.
biggest problem
it's
is
not
that it
used.
goes to the Amazon cloud, which is
Right.
never
Well,
goes away,
but-
ever.
yeah,
And what if you
well-
have me coming in and out of town 6 times because I'm doing a project at home and I forgot 6 things at Home Depot,
But
you know?
it wouldn't say anything. So if the car that we would be investigating would tell us that, then that would just be a reason when we talk to the individual, I don't know who the individual would be,
Okay.
but the person would stop at the car and say, why are you coming in town? And
So
that
even
would be an
if- even if
investigative,
the
but,
description were to match my car, you would still pull my license plate, right?
well, if we saw it was your car and we saw it was you because we know who you are, we wouldn't even talk to you.
Okay.
Why would we bother talking to you?
Yeah, okay.
So, but yes, because, and that would be one of the factors, we would eliminate that car.
Okay.
Once we would run it. If your car
Because
fits.
you know I'm a total supporter of you.
No, I get it.
and
I appreciate it,
I-
but the more, I mean, the reason why we're having this discussion, and I appreciate the board's time to let me do this, is to make sure we answer as many questions as possible, to get as much information out there, because I appreciate everything that everybody has said tonight. And believe me, I live here. I'm a citizen
Yeah.
here. My family's here, my kids are here, and I do everything I can to make this
I
the
want
safest
another
place in
cop.
town.
I would rather have
So
another cop driving the road.
I would love 4 more. So.
I would
but-
too.
But the reason, and so everything I've done the last 7 years has been to make this the safest place in Texas.
And you've done a
Because I
great
live
job.
here and I hired the best people to make sure that everything is done right and we follow the rules and there's none of this other stuff that you heard about. And my policies are solid. That's why I got accreditation from the Texas Police Chiefs Association to hold us to that highest standard, because I want to make sure that I do it right for everybody here, including myself.
Okay.
So, I mean, hold me accountable. We have a 2-year contract, and like like everybody has said, in 2 years, we can void this if it's not working the way we said it is.
Okay.
I mean, right, the gentleman that came up and brought that up, that's a great point, and the board will hold me accountable. So that's, you know,
Okay.
does that answer everybody's question?
All right, I've got one last question.
What-
I
we-
apologize. One last
well,
question. One last question
Okay.
with gumption, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to be monitoring this system on a regular, daily, hourly basis?
No, we
Thank
will
you.
audit it every 6 months.
Ma'am, we have one back here. And then one here.
My name is Nicole Donatelli, and I live on 5 Lano Drive over by Lakeview Elementary. And so, if I'm understanding the way the system works properly, I'm sorry? If I'm understanding correctly, what you're saying is, if I park my car in my driveway in the middle of the night, if somebody comes by and takes something out of my car or steals my car, I have to have a picture or description or something to be able to utilize this system so that we have the starting lead to use this as an investigative lead. Is that what you're saying?
You may not personally, but your neighbors may. So somebody on that street or at the corner may have a lead to help us say, hey, what time and when this happened.
So we need one camera to then use another
Or
camera.
if somebody sees something. So
to-
it's a.
So what I'm understanding though is we are just continuously saying we need more and more and more cameras to be able to stop or catch or recover stolen property. So, I do have some concerns with that, but all of that aside, just wanted to make sure I understood. I do think that we need more comparable statistical data. As somebody pointed out, Fort Worth is a significantly different sized city than Trophy Club. Trophy Club is, as everybody has pointed out, safe. I understand the purpose is that this is to deter additional crime, right? Everything is safe until it's not. But I think that it's fair to ask for comparable statistics about how much this is going to theoretically reduce these instances that we're putting out there before we expend the resources. That's all I have to say.
Oh, no, that gentleman. The gentleman, I'm sorry. Let's get the gentleman.
So my name is Mike Huseman. I live on Tennyson Trail, and I know Jay really well. He's one of our neighbors. So first of all, I'd like to say, Chief, you and your team of professional police officers, thank you. We moved to Trophy Club because of the safety. I've also spent my entire career working in data, okay? So I just want to clear up a couple points. Point number one, data never goes away. You have to know that. Number two, people that are in charge today that we trust won't be here tomorrow. Okay? We see people changing all the time in power positions. In the system, can it be expanded to do more things that the chief is not having it do today, like check residency? Can it just be turned on to do those things?
No, so that is only for private. So if your HOA purchases cameras, that would be where they can opt in to put the residents yes or no. And
Okay.
the residents would include their license plate in the system. And that's how it knows, yes, is it a resident, or no, if it's not.
Technically, could that ever be added to this system?
For government, no.
So technically, there's no way that it can be turned on. Okay, again, I'm having a hard time believing that because I'm in technology, right? You have flips and triggers because you have code base. You turn on integrations, things happen.
So,
Okay, so my only point is this. I love safety. That's why I'm here. But let's just keep in mind when we're making the decision, two things that we have to remember. Data never goes away. I don't care what somebody tells you. And I'd like to know, does somebody have an official, one of the president of your company, is he going to sign an oath that says when your data is deleted, I guarantee it's deleted. He won't do that. Data lives, okay? And people change. And all I say is keep that in mind, because you're not all going to be in the same position a few years from now. Thank you for a moment.
As soon as she's finished.
Hi, my name's Kathy Baldwin. I live at 10 Rochester here in Trophy Club. And I don't have a lot of statistics on how cameras work, but I have a statistic of one myself. I lived in South Lake and they have cameras, and I was walking my dogs on school property and was attacked. My dogs were attacked, I was attacked. And one of my dogs was taken into the German Shepherd's mouth and just almost killed. And if it wasn't for the practice football dads that were there on school property, we would not have been saved. I was in, of course, a state of shock, and so I didn't notice exactly what happened, but a lot of the people around me did. And then I whisked my dog off for emergency surgery, but other people stuck around and saw what happened. So apparently, we found out later that a gentleman from Grapevine bred attack dogs, and he regularly brought attack dogs to the nearby park and had been accosting and hurting residents for months and months. Those attack dogs, though, attacked me and my dogs that day. Some of the witnesses identified the car and identified the man, but nobody knew. By the time my husband got to the scene, they were all gone. So I went to the police department and said, you better fix this. And they said, we can't do anything. And I said, yes, you can. You better show me. I don't pay taxes for nothing. And I'm sure you have cameras. I'm sure you have data. And so they just said, oh, ma'am, I can't help you. So a couple days later, they said, embarrassingly, well, I guess maybe I can help you. And as a matter of fact, we have 5 cars that we identified that have exactly that description. And then animal control went to visit every one of those residents because they knew from the license plate what their names were, where their residents were. They went to visit and they eliminated all but one. And when they first went to this residence in Grapevine, the guy denied that anything had happened. And so they backed off, went away, and they said, well, we're going to give it another shot because he's kind of, we noticed dogs in the backyard and they're howling, so they went back. This time they went back and they had a warrant. And they went in and they found these dogs and they looked into them and the dogs attacked them. The dogs, evidence found, were being trained to be attack dogs. And they told me and I took it from there. And so lawyers and lawsuits and all kinds of things. And the attack dogs that were identified by the residents that had been attacking them all along as they were walking, they thought, freely in the town, those dogs had to be put down. We would not have identified this. I had to go in for rabies shots. I had surgery. My dogs had surgery. And we wouldn't have known any of this. We wouldn't have identified the guy, and he would have been continuing to harass residents if we didn't have cameras. Thank you.
You had a question, yes. Just for the record, you do need to come on.
Jennifer Olson, I came up here earlier. But I did have a question for Jasmine, because the speaker before had said something about, where is this flock system going? Can something be added? Is there anything new that's going to be added on that we're not aware of? But just like a week and a half ago, Flock came up with a new product called the Raven that collects audio. And it does like 1 square mile, and it can be programmed to hear a gunshot, glass break, sounds like a sound that might sound like a Cadillac converter's getting busted. I would say that you could program it for conversation as well. So can you tell us about that? Because that could be something, and you guys are offering it for free for people that, purchase at least 15 cameras, I believe, or maybe you're throwing it in to sweeten the deal, but maybe you can tell us if that's included in this package and
It is
about
not.
that product.
It is not. It's a new product that we have released, but in y'all's agreement, it's only the 9 cameras that we've been discussing. That could be down the road if y'all have that, but that is not something that is catered to Trophy Club. It's for gunshot detection. So if you have a lot of violent crime in Trophy Club, which I don't foresee you'll do since you said it's pretty safe, but that is what it's meant for. And so if you want to, so it's for a gunshot, and then it'll be a hot list alert, similar to like the platform that he showed. And the patrol officer would be able to listen to that audio and decipher if it's a gunshot or if it's, decide what it is.
Okay, I think that,
There's another one over there.
we had the 2 ladies in the back here.
We're nervous, so we came together.
Hi, my name is Tara Daly. I live at 2817 Chatswood Drive. We moved here, not Nicole and I, because you're there to go. Okay. We moved here for safety. A town is safe until it's not. I've always backed the blue, and I really appreciate the amount of research that has gone into this. I think the focus here is the target is on the criminals and not on the residents. I mean, now, I don't want my husband to know how much I'm going to White House Black Market now, okay? Keep that on the DL. But I do want to be safe. My son's bike has been stolen years ago from Byron Nelson, and because the cameras were not working, the $500 bike was just a loss. Also, a couple of weeks ago, there were 3 Mexicans that were trying to break into a vehicle around Macquarie, around my neighborhood. And I don't know if they caught them or what, but the Ring camera, it picked up the 3 individuals and the car, but not the license plate. So I am definitely for these cameras.
Thank you. My name's, oh, that's too close. My name's Nicole. I live at 2008 Churchill Downs Lane. And I'm just trying to see it from a different perspective. This is kind of like an insurance policy. We have insurance for our cars, we have insurance for our houses, and we have it until we need it. And that is how my perspective of this.
Thank you for being patient with all of us.
Thank you.
Hey guys, Rylan Rowe, 404 Skyline Drive. I wanted to clear up a couple of process-oriented things because we have such a huge crowd here. Is this the biggest CCPD crowd y'all have ever had? That's what I figured. So thanks for being patient and sitting through everybody and letting everybody get out. It's obviously a sensitive and emotional topic. First of all, I'll just say from a completely pragmatic perspective, there could be 1,000 petitions with 1 billion signatures. The CCPD district is not going to go away as a taxing entity. The reason being is that under state law, if you want to change the way your sales tax is allocated, it's got to go on a ballot and then people vote on it. When people vote on it, they're going to see crime control and prevention district, keep or get rid of. Crime control, keep or get rid of. Okay, I'm going to keep that. So I don't think that's a reasonable possibility, at least definitely not here. But even if it did happen, I don't remember if it was the 2015 session or the 2017 session, but there was in one of the recent legislative sessions, the state changed some of the rules around the way municipalities can allocate their 2% that we're allowed to get off sales tax, and you can actually put more towards the general fund now than you used to be able to back in 2013 when this CCPD district was established. So even if some weird thing happened and it went away, we would still have ample sales tax revenue as an opportunity to offset the general fund. And when the chief said he had so much percentage now going towards that out of the total, that's music to everybody's ears, right? Secondly, I don't know if everyone is aware, CCPD is unique in that you guys you guys have a mutually agreed upon budget with council. Other boards that have budgets, they send their budget to council, and then council can do with it whatever they want to do with it. They can amend it, they can approve it as is, whatever. CCPD, according to state law, it has to be mutually agreed upon. So I'm a little disappointed because I know when there are budget meetings with CCPD in the past, oftentimes they're joint meetings with council. That way the mutual agreement happens all at once. As a resident, what I want to see is that my elected officials understand how sensitive this is, because I think a lot of these people, as much as they appreciate y'all's time and effort, really want to talk to the people they voted for or voted against or didn't know ran or whatever. So I hope that the council will find some way to give people a forum. And the reason why I say that is chances are this system will be installed. I could probably do without it, but I also don't think it's the end of the world. But at some point, there's something you say yes to and other people say no and vice versa. The important thing is the policies around how it's governed. And these guys, all they can do according to state law is set a budget. If you want to worry about the policies or the way that chief is going to handle data loss prevention or handling of personal data or anything of that nature, it's going to have to come through a policy, and your input path that way is through council. So that's just my statement. Thank you all for your time. Appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir. Okay.
My name is Don Dietrich. I reside at 6 Hannah Court. It seems to me that we've got a fabulous solution to a problem that doesn't really exist. We're not Fort Worth, we're not Chicago, we're not Atlanta. We don't have high crime. And to sacrifice our individual rights of privacy to have government monitoring when we're coming to our own home seems to me to be beyond a stretch of what government is here to do for us. All of our rights are protected vigorously by our government, but there's always exceptions to those things. For instance, free speech. Glad we've got it, but you can't holler fire in a crowded movie theater. The courts have said that. So I understand some cars have been broken into. I understand there's private security cameras amongst private individuals and businesses. I'm not worried if Walmart wants to catch a shoplifter. I am worried when the government starts collecting information on me when I have done nothing to warrant that collection of information. And I just don't feel like this is warranted. Now, I'm sure this will get a roar from the crowd, but I predict in a couple of years, we'll be here for the discussion of if the cameras work so well at the entrance, why don't we put them every place? Oh, I know, no. But all you've got to do is look at history. And once you start down this path, the courts have characterized it as a very slippery slope. And if we had a problem, if we had severe crime, if we had whatever it is that big cities feel like they need them, then I could understand more and I would be more willing to sacrifice something that is dear to me for the better good of my community. I congratulate you, sir. You guys do a great job. You're courteous. You're everything that a community would want in a police department. But to start cataloging when I'm coming and going, I can't support that. I'm sorry. Thank you.
At this time, we have all that. That's the problem.
Okay, at this time, if there's no additional questions, we'll close this portion of the public hearing. Okay, we'll have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Second. Actually, why don't we, you gotta
Oh, sorry.
take action, unfortunately. You want to take a minute and?
I apologize.
There's nothing to,
Yeah.
Did we miss something?
No, we're good. So, yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to take action.
We're not going to, yes, okay, so we're not going to take any action at this time.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
we should have said that.
You okay, buddy?
My days right there.
Yeah, me too. Alex,
It got my throat. You know how
you
it
can't clear it out.
I know, you can't clear it out.
Yeah, it's miserable.
I brought
Ragweed.
I brought the cough drop. I don't understand it.